I remember when I first came into Krishna consciousness, actually my first contact with Hare Krishna was that song in Hair. Remember that in end of 1960s, they had that musical. It was called Hair. And at the end, the last scene was they would dance around in less than fully clothed, and they would chant Hare Krishna. And I had the album, and I used to listen to that album every day. Later on in 1985, I met a young man in New York, and he said that he was present in the room when Prabhupada was preaching to some young man who was writing a play. And Prabhupada told him to include the Hare Krishna mantra. So that musical, that last song was put there because Srila Prabhupada requested. So in Vrindavan, I remember the first time I ever saw in person Srila Prabhupada. He was speaking at the Radha Damodar temple in the courtyard. So you have, you know, Rupa Goswami Samadhi on one side, Sanatana Goswami on the other side. I mean, practically, as Prabhupada described it, the center of the universe. Okay. So seeing Srila Prabhupada there, it struck me how listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures and reading Prabhupada's books was exactly the same thing. So there isn't any difference. So the actual being in Prabhupada's presence, all you have to do is open the book. It's just as good as Srila Prabhupada sitting there. There is absolutely no difference. We went to Bombay, traveled to Ahmedabad. We had another large program in Ahmedabad. Went to many life members' houses. And the wonderful thing that I found that Srila Prabhupada did was that he would, when he preached, when he was in the position of preaching, I mean, he was fire and brimstone. When he would sit on the Vyasasana at night, we'd have this huge pandal program. I mean, I swear, I don't remember exactly, but in my mind, I'm thinking that the size of the pandal tent was as big as a city block. Was I right? Easily 5,000 people, easily. Every single night, this place would fill up. Now, you know, the Indians are very intelligent, and also many of them are very well versed in the Shastras. So when Prabhupada would preach and he would say things, they could relate. They could understand that he is saying the right thing, even though he was chastising them. And many times Prabhupada would speak not in English, but in the local language, either in Hindi or in Bengali. And you could tell, of course, you could hear the verses that he would cite. He was extremely stern with them. But when you would go to a life member's house, he was the most wonderful guest. He would talk with them, and make small talk, and he was concerned about every single person. It was totally amazing that Srila Prabhupada had such, like a jewel, had so many different facets from this angle, and from that angle, from this other angle. Just like if we try to take a blind man and touch an elephant, there's so many different. Oh, if you touch here, it looks like it's this big around, and you touch here, it's this big around. It's got so many different aspects. Srila Prabhupada was absolutely perfect judge of time and circumstance. He always had exactly the right thing to say at the right time for the right person. And sometimes when we read the letter books and other anecdotes about Srila Prabhupada, if you read his letters, perhaps he's saying to one person, yes, very good idea, you should get married. Then another situation, he writes, no, it's better not to get married. So, I don't want to take too long, but I understand. So what I'm trying to say is that Srila Prabhupada had perfect understanding of time and circumstance, how to engage each person and make that person enlivened in Krishna consciousness. On one hand, he had scholars like Pradyumna. On the other hand, he had, ex-bikers. I won't mention any names, but everywhere in between, everywhere in between, he could engage people and make them work together. And the fact is that all of Prabhupada's senses were in complete control. He was never out of control. Karuna
true